Hello, everyone. Yes, it is Friday, and you know how we do it here at Just Shilling. Before we get into it, just want to cover some ground rules here and welcoming everyone that is trickling in. I appreciate you taking the time to join us on a Friday here when you could be doing a million things in the world during this summer. But this is a safe space. I do encourage everyone to be authentic, thoughtful, and respectful of others' opinions. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and as long as the topics aren't too controversial for a family dinner, we definitely welcome the dialogue. So if you don't know, now you know. And last but not least, nothing discussed here is financial advice, and the opinions of the guest and myself are of our own and do not necessarily represent our respective companies. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Asaf to the show. How's it going, Asaf?
Very well. Thank you for having me, Trevor.
Oh, it is my pleasure, and my pleasure for sure. So, before we go way back in time, just give us a 30-second to 1 minute elevator pitch about who you are, your role, and the wonderful organization that you represent.
Fantastic. So I'm Asaf Nadler. I'm one of the co-founders of Addressable.io, a startup operating in the field of user acquisition and marketing tech for Web3. And what we do is that we help companies overcome challenges of user acquisition, which it's a space where everybody are anonymous and it's very difficult to get data. And accordingly, it's very difficult for marketers to understand their audiences and connect with them. And we overcome that by collecting data from the blockchain and social data and associating that so that we're enabling marketers to be able to target wallet owners using advertisements on Twitter ads, Reddit ads, and display ads, and get reports that for the first time assist them in understanding where their audiences emerge from, how well are their campaigns going, and what they should do next in order to grow effectively and for the entire industry to grow effectively.
That is such a beautiful summary. I mean, I couldn't have said that better myself. Thank you for sharing that. Now, let's go back. Take us back to the moment in your academic studies when you first discovered and fell in love with crypto, and like what prompted you to say, ready or not, here I come. And was there ever a feeling that like you can't hide your passion any longer and yet you need to be in this industry?
You touch on the point of emotion for me. So for 17 years prior to establishing Addressable, I was doing tech both for elite military intelligence 8200 in Israel, where I'm based, born and raised. And I was the director of data science for Akamai Technologies for 7 years. So it's been 17 years of my life doing cybersecurity and big data, both on the research side of things and both of the engineering side of things. And I was confident that this is what I'm going to do my entire life. I love cybersecurity and data. But somewhere along my academic studies, when I was working on my master's and PhD, I met my advisor, which I admire a lot, and he's a well-known cryptographer, and he suggested that we'll study the topic of blockchain. So we published a few papers on what is now called Layer 1 design. That was back in 2016. And I just fell in love with that. I felt that at the time, so many people were talking about the speculation and what would be the value of Bitcoin. But I was such a geek writing proofs on the wall on how blockchain protocols can be more efficient, more scalable, more secure, and more fair. And I started seeing the potential between blockchain technologies and the innovation it drives to the world and to the worlds of data that I've been doing for 17 years. So I was just waiting for the opportunity to jump into the water and combine blockchain and data, which is what we're doing at Addressable.
Awesome, awesome. And something else, during our conversation that you had mentioned about the early days and, the creation of the organization, you had mentioned that the addressable team, you had known each other for years and obviously previously worked in data security. So when you started to speak to companies about their data problems, what were you expecting to hear and what did you actually discover?
Yeah, so we were so coming from a background of cybersecurity, and that's true for my two partners as well. We all know each other for many years. We all did cybersecurity in a variety of settings, both government, military, public sector, corporate companies, startups. It's really all of that. Um, we were looking into the domain of blockchain, which we fell in love with from so many angles. Academic, we had customers within the blockchain domain. We were doing partnerships with blockchain companies. We knew we wanted to deal with that. And based on our background, we were able to get tons of introductions to a lot of blockchain companies and ask them about their problems in general and data problems specifically. And given our background in our bias for cybersecurity, we were confident that the core problem we're going to hear about is, oh, there's so many cyber attacks, and this is where we need help with. That's
Mm,
obviously a problem. I'm not denying
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I think what we heard from them is, yeah, sure, that's definitely a problem. But there's even a bigger problem for us, which we're not able to solve. And to frame that within a one sentence, 2021, these blockchain companies raised more capital than cybersecurity companies and digital health and education tech company. And they say, we raised these funds to grow the company, but we're unable to do it effectively. And we asked them, well, what do you mean by that? You're unable to do that effectively. And what they all literally said is, everybody in this space are anonymous. It's just not just a matter of technology, it's a matter of culture. People don't provide their emails anymore, they don't provide their mobile numbers, they're logging in with their wallet. And that makes it incredibly difficult to run email campaigns, mobile campaigns, and understand your audience. We don't even know what countries they're coming from, what language are they speaking, so we'd be able to reach out to them effectively. And as a result of that, when we're trying to grow it, we're trying to segment our audiences and understand what are the points to focus on, we're really guessing. And that's not working very well, and we're burning tons of cash. And if we had anybody capable of helping us tackle these problems, we'd be able to grow effectively. And we're willing to invest so much in that. And to us, coming from a military intelligence background and from big data analysis, it sounded like a lot of problems that we used to solve in the past. And that was a great opportunity for us to do that for the benefit of the industry that we wanted to invest so much in.
Fantastic. And were there any other transferable skills or knowledge that you had acquired previously in your career or during your time in the military that was also helpful in you being able to, quote unquote, successfully make this transition?
Absolutely. I think the core one is dealing with data at a massive scale. So, with most startups that we're seeing on the industry, they typically start with no data. They build a product and they start onboarding customers. And with this customer, start streaming the first party data of that customers. And it takes a while for these companies to have a big database with data that they can gain insights from, train machine learning models, or provide any sort of new products based on these data. In the world of blockchain, it's the opposite. You start with everything laying in front of you, every transaction that was ever made on any blockchain from Genesis, from the beginning of time. And that's such a huge opportunity to gain insights. You can see which businesses are successful. You can see where there are new trends on the market. You can see so many things. And starting at this point, and with the big data skills that we had, ranging from designing machine learning models, published academic papers, and doing that at a huge scale, that was incredibly meaningful and transferable from our long time career in military intelligence and going into a startup in the blockchain domain.
Fantastic. And, one of the other things that we had talked about was, you having this very analytical background, coming from a scientific mindset. How do you, being in the field of marketing, help kind of, I would say, dumb down some of the complex things in the nature of your role so that everyday people and the masses can better understand what you're trying to accomplish?
It's funny that you're asking that because for so many years doing cybersecurity and data analysis, I almost felt like with cybersecurity, there's something so emotional about that. And a lot of the time, it's very difficult to compare different products based on how well they detect threats. It's very difficult to label what's a threat and what's good. And accordingly, it's very difficult to create benchmarks. So it's a field in which, despite so many technical challenges and prowess, it's not as analytical as I want it to be. And stepping into marketing, I was under the impression, I think that's true for a lot of people doing marketing, that it's a creative field, that it's a field of art. But once stepping inside, and it might be a matter of perspective, to me, it seems like the most analytical thing that I've did in my life. Everything is quantifiable and measurable. You can check out the entire funnel of users converting, and you can learn about the conversion rates at different points of the funnel, and the cost of acquisition, the lifetime value of users. And to me, it just seemed like math. And I think coming into this field, I was really asking myself, how come I missed that for all these years? That's probably one of the most analytical topics that I've ever had to deal with. And I'm fascinated about that, about the availability of data, about the ability to analyze everything, and about the ability to have no bullshit. It's really all about the numbers, the math, the analytics.
Yeah, indeed. And with AI kind of coming about, and we'll talk a little bit more about the product that you have and how you're ultimately helping marketers, measure their growth across the various, facets of our industry. But, with AI coming about, do you ever feel that we're going down a path of just being able to uncover so many new data sets and points that we never had before? And how are you preparing for just that overwhelming amount of information that's going to be discoverable in the near future?
I'm a big believer in AI, and I think that aside from blockchain data analysis, probably most of my release papers, journals, and conferences were related to AI and the very foundations of that. Most of that in cybersecurity, but today I think it's made as such a commodity and it's so accessible that our ability to solve complex problems is becoming much more prevalent. And specifically in the world of addressable, there are so many marketing problems that we're tackling with AI. And to name three of them, which I think numerous years ago they would have been an order of magnitude more difficult, and they're still difficult, but I think that with the evolution of AI, they're at least made possible. So these three problems, one of them is identity matching, is the ability to take identities from blockchains and identities from multiple social networks and cross-reference them together to kind of enrich them and give more color to the profiles behind them. A second one is Web3 attribution and the ability to analyze campaign from the top of a funnel of a user clicking an ad or seeing an influencer promote something, and all the way until the user lends in the landing page, connects their wallet, and converts on the blockchain. With the ability to tie all of that at a huge scale, we're able to gain so much insights about what's actually working in Web3 and what draws whales to specific protocols or games. And another one is in Web3, there's so much creativity and growth hacking on the marketer side. People are doing amazing things, and it's really such a big opportunity for growth. But having said that, a lot of the marketers within the space, and please correct me on that when we get to the Q&A if anybody feels differently about that, is there's not too much background on performance marketing. So what we saw the opportunity to do is with all of the data about what's going around, how many people clicked your ad on different campaigns, different segments, different devices, different countries, and what ultimately happened, we can create a human readable recommendations, insights, and in summaries so that the marketer on the other end can say, despite my somewhat lack of knowledge in classic performance marketing and advertisements, I understand. I understand that my protocol is working better in this specific country and for these specific devices. And obviously, this is where I need to tune it up to gain better performance.
Fascinating. Thank you for sharing that. And shifting gears a little bit, overall for the general public and people that are listening, what's some of your advice that you can give to organizations and individuals alike uh, to become more effective in marketing their message and actually reaching their target audience?
So the key question that I would advise every marketer to ask themselves, every marketing leader, every CMO, every head of marketing in a crypto organization is, when I report to leadership, whether that's a marketing weekly meeting, whether it's a staff meeting, or whether it's any forum like that, what numbers am I presenting? What are the KPIs? What are the goals? How are they measurable? How are they improving week after week? And taking one step backwards, what are the causes that affect them based on everything that I've tried so far, be it influencers and digital out of home New York conferences and in advertisements and quests in community, what is really moving the needle that I'm trying to move? And I think that what we see, or at least what we saw when we started off, is so many organizations are not asking themselves these questions, or are not using very strong numbers, or are using vanity metrics. I don't think that's unique to Web3, but I think the situation was a bit worse in Web3 than other domains that we were looking into. And I think that if every marketing leader asked ask themselves this specific question: what numbers am I presenting to leadership? How are they improving? What's affecting them week after week? That takes them into the rabbit holes of looking for tools to, one, get these numbers, two, understand these numbers, and three, improve on these numbers.
Fantastic. One of the things that I was just thinking about, there's obviously this phrase in business that we always say that the customer is right. But has there ever been a situation when you wanted to say, like, listen up to what we say, because we deal with this every day, and we can back it up with facts, not just opinions, in a polite yet professional, non-competitive type of way, of course.
Oh wow, you're touching on a spot right here. So to give some more context, what our product enables is for Web3 companies to target their audience as using ads. And what's unique about that is I probably spoke to 300 to 400 marketers over the past 2 years. At least 80% of them, when I ask who's your target audience, and I think that's a good exercise to everybody in the crowd doing Web3 marketing, is close your eyes, think about your target audience, and now ask yourself, did you just describe your target audience in on-chain terms? I think that's what happens to me with 80% of marketers. The DeFi customers are saying, oh, it's users on chain that are owning a specific token, that are trading frequently, that has a specific network, that worked with a specific protocol, that went into a centralized exchange, or did anything like that. With the Web3 game, it's everybody playing actively Web3 games, owning specific tokens, or even active on chain. And then what I typically ask is great. That's an accurate description. Now, how do you tap that into what you're doing today? And then there's typically this feeling of frustration, which people are saying, well, the Google and Facebooks of the world, they're overlooking the blockchain data. I can't tap my way of thinking into these platforms, nor can I do that with quests and communities. Um, and what we build is this bridge between them. So a marketer can describe their target audience in on-chain terms, which is their natural way of thinking about that. We can translate that to the network. And to reflect on your question, what we saw is a lot of marketers are very confident about the target audience that would they think would be the most effective for what they're doing. And about a year ago, we released a dynamic optimization algorithm. That's another use of AI that is kind of exploring different audiences. So you start with a target audience. We see which segments are performing well and which one are underperforming. We're kind of navigating the space. And what we see with some marketers is that the audience that is actually converting best and with the most efficient results is sometimes a bit different than what they originally thought, both in terms of countries, mobile versus desktop, but also users of specific games or specific protocols that they didn't necessarily hear about. And that's always interesting and fascinating. And when that happens, it's typically a conversation. And when it's based on the data, I mean, we're looking at reality. Now it's just a discussion about why do we think that happened. But I love seeing that, and I love seeing the marketers' eyes open for them to get the insights from the data and then take that back and kind of recalculate.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on the importance and the significance of shifting to being more mobile based versus, console based?
Absolutely. So if I'm looking at the history of blockchain, so 2009, Bitcoin comes out, still fairly a niche. People are really believers in digital gold, and with 2015, Ethereum goes live and stablecoins and NFTs, but we still don't have blockchain in the mainstream. And I think that for so many enthusiasts, we're still in the chasm. We're not yet at the point in time at which blockchain is making that to the mainstream. But with what I'm seeing all around, there are many trends happening that I think are starting to be above the barrier or kind of the first steps towards blocking to the mainstream. One of them is Stripe announcing they'll start accepting payments in crypto for SaaS, and some of them is the acquisitions of some big companies like eBay, Salesforce, and other ones of Web3 companies. And one thing that I'm a big believer that is critical for Web3 to make that into the mainstream is going mobile, because mobile is the interface for everything today. And I think that a few years ago you haven't seen many crypto on mobile, right? You had some wallets, you have the MetaMask and the Rainbow, and in some cases you had some games. But with a lot of game developers that I was working with in Web3, they were developing for desktop or for web, which is quite unusual in this space. And the reasoning behind that was there were too many challenges to put crypto apps on mobile. One of them was with the App Store and Apple charging for 30% of every in-app purchase. What are we going to pay them? 30% of the crypto? Does it even does it even make sense, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's so weird. And the level of infrastructure needed on mobile wasn't yet widely available. That's changing. I'm speaking to many investors, accelerators, in companies in the space. And I think with what we're seeing at the moment, 50% of new games in Web3 and DeFi applications are going mobile. And I think that's a huge statement towards the bursting of blockchain into the mainstream. And to tap into that and prepare for that, we announced some strategic partnerships with Singular and Upstart, two of the world's mobile analytics giants. And what that partnerships enables us is for any Web3 company or for any company building a mobile app for Web3. It can be a wallet, it can be a game, it can be an investment protocol. When you are going to promote this app to the wide audience, you would want to know not just what is the cost per installation, the CPI, you would actually want to know what drives a first deposit into the blockchain, what brings whales to download your app, which kind of campaign was that, and how do we invest more in that campaign? And what this partnerships enable us to achieve together. And we're big believers in that, in blockchain and mobile going together. And this is why we tapped early into that. And I'm incredibly excited about that.
I love it. I love it. Now, this is shifting gears a bit and maybe touching on what we just talked about a little bit. But we do work in an industry that has been riddled with negative headlines over the past year. And no matter what professionals do to push things forward in the right direction, there are people who tend to do nothing but hate, right? So, how do you just kind of shake that off and continue to build?
That's a very good question. So I think my source of inspiration in a lot of stuff is the Read Write Own book by Chris Dixon. I mean, that's a must-have.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a legendary
Hmm.
book despite being so new. And I think the way he's describing that was I think the most accurate way that crypto and blockchain at the same time has two type of entities. There's the decentralized computer and the applications that are trying to promote the technology of blockchain to do real things with the world. And we're starting to see so many opportunities in this space, ranging from decentralized social with everything happening on Farcaster, decentralized science, decentralized DePIN. We're starting to see so many applications, not just with real utility, but with top talent teams behind that. And that lives alongside a casino, right, in which there's so much speculation, which generates a lot of emotions from people. It's either huge excitement or huge hate. I think that as time goes by and the industry matures, we'll start seeing more of the first time. It's real pioneers stepping into a space that is still new. I mean, a decade or even 15 years into blockchain, it's still a new domain.
Yeah.
But we see top teams stepping into that with real product, with real desire to innovate. And I think with that, the mainstream is closer than ever. The technology is better than ever, and we'll start seeing people with higher acceptance toward this technology and how that blends into our lives.
Nice. Personally, there was once a time in my career when I kind of felt like it was always, me versus the world until I really found out it was actually me versus me. So, this is a two-part question. One, have you ever had moments when you doubted your decision to work in Web3? And two, how do you continue to evolve and become a better version of yourself despite all of the success you've had so far in your career?
I don't have any regret about going into Web3. In fact, I'm so glad that I went into this field. So unlike so many other fields that have their pace of moving, with Web3 everything is so fast and you're feeling that you're working on such a pioneering field in which reality is being defined right now. And for me, being a big believer in blockchain, starting from the theory of and academics, which is where I started, and moving into technology, and with me speaking to so many companies in the space, founders in the space, CMOs and marketing leaders in the space, I see so much potential. And I'm thankful for the privilege that I have to step into that at an early stage. It's still 15 years into blocks and it's still an early stage for this industry. And being a part of this amazing fabric of companies and pioneers working on that. And I think that on the part of how to become better and better at that, I think that tapping into the first part of the answer, what is so beautiful about this industry is that everyone are one hop away. It still feels like a lot of people are speaking about Web3 as a community. I think that is really the case in all of the conferences, in all of social media. It's very rare to find someone that would ignore your DM or would ignore an opportunity to meet or would ignore having a drink at the bar and chatting about mutual challenges because there's this mutual feeling in which it lies on the shoulders of everybody to make this industry succeed. With the marketing tools and with the cybersecurity tools and with the financial tools and with the gaming and everybody are willing to talk to one another, which is something that I just love about this space. So happy that I stepped into that. And I think that talking to all these people and leveraging the opportunity that it's such a friendly space and still at the moment small enough for you to be able to talk to everybody and see the problems with your own eyes and start to tackle them. I think that's the way to get better every day.
I love that. That's great. And personally, sometimes at night, like I feel like I can't sleep, and I'm tossing and turning. I'm thinking of different ways that I can be more useful as someone who's been able to successfully make that transition to Web3. So, do you ever feel like you can do more that you aren't doing enough? And is it just me, or Is that something like my mind just playing tricks on me?
So just to make sure that I understand the question, are the days in which I'm feeling that I'm not doing enough that I can do something better?
Yeah.
That's a good question. I would actually take the counterintuitive answer and I'll say no. With being a founder, there's so much stress, right? And there's always the feeling being a very competitive person about am I doing enough? I think that it's also about having the patience. Obviously, I'm spending so many hours and investing my life and my soul into the startup, the industry, and I'm really fully committed to helping this industry grow. But I think that aside that, and that's probably a message to everybody in the crowd that are working so hard on driving this industry, driving their companies, driving their careers, it's also important to celebrate wins, to tap yourself on the shoulder and saying to yourself, let's do that one step at a time. It needs the hard work, but it also needs the patience and the willingness to accept that things aren't changing on a daily basis. It's a one step at a time, baby step at a time, and be really happy about what you're able to accomplish.
That is so important for sure. And I think that it goes without saying that last year and even before then, it was a hard one, but life goes on. And what are some of the most important lessons that you learned, and how will you apply this newly acquired knowledge moving forward?
That's a fantastic questions about the lessons. I think that the key lesson is that the truth about the market is not down at the office. You can you can write on the whiteboard and you can have so many ideas, and a lot of them might be awesome. But in order to learn the reality, you need to go and see that for yourself. You need to talk to others, whether it's partners, whether that's investors, whether that's customers, whether it's thought leaders in the space. And I think in a lot of sense, that's the innovator's paradox in which you have this amazing idea in your head, but you can't fulfill that without sharing that with others that would inevitably change your ideas, right? And I think that's the key lesson. Even if you're incredibly confident about the ideas that you have and the revolution that it will make to the space, take that to others. Don't be afraid that they will steal your ideas. Don't be afraid that, as you said it before, no stupid questions. I'm always in it for asking something that makes me look stupid because throughout these discussions, you really get to the bottom of stuff. You're really able to get to the truth, to the innovation, to the revolutions.
Yes, well said. And let's learn a little bit more about Addressable. Let's talk about the culture and compared to other organizations out there. I don't know what's your competition like or people that are trying to do something similar. But what's something that makes you say they're not like us. We're different.
There are so many things that I can state. I think that the organization it's 30 people at the time. The headquarters are in Israel. There are many people around Europe, and we're growing and scaling all the time. And I think what's unique about the entire team is, and that's, I mean, every company in the space would say that, but it's all 10x people. It's the 10x engineers, 10x marketers. Everybody is cherry picked from the best organizations that we've worked with, and I'm so proud of the people. I think one thing that I would maybe add, just to kind of give some more color to the people in the company, is when we established the company, all three founders, we were talking about the values that are important for us to have within the company. Um, we're all family men. We all have children. We all have families. We're not at the very youngster part of our career. It was very important for us that Addressable would be a friendly space for people with families, for parents, for people that also want to enjoy the time with their families. So, as a result of that, we're as encouraging as possible for people to spend time with their family. We always say that it's the most important thing. Um, And that's perhaps something that's, I don't know, is a bit unique about a startup, in which despite the long hour, the sense of competition, and the effort that we put into that, it's incredibly important for us that people also find the stability, the ability to enjoy the time with their families, um, and enjoy life in that sense.
I love that. I love that. So, gosh, wow, time is flying by. I told you that this would go by quick. We're at about 35 minutes in, folks. So, if anyone is listening in the audience, I've been learning a lot here today so far. If you'd like to ask a question, please raise your hand and I will do my best to bring you up. And remember, folks, that there is no silly question. Asaf is great and very open to being able to discuss more about the organization and his personal career alike. Now, what are some of the biggest challenges that you think that we face moving forward? I mean, there's been the positive coin about this, right? The positive side of the coin is that there's been a lot of positive sentiment and a lot of, I would say, positive changes in our industry recently. What are some of the things that you're most excited about and looking forward to, short term and long term as well?
So I think that one of the things that I'm most fascinated of is, I think I'm repeating on something that I said earlier, but I try to take that to a new spot. It's on blockchain making that to the mainstream. I think that there's a lot of changes in the space that are not just on the tech side of things, but I think that we're starting to see titles that are really promising, for crypto to make that into the mainstream. There is a title from today about Coinbase looking to onboard a billion people for their smart wallet. We have the news that I shared earlier, with Stripe looking to support crypto payments for B2B, which is, I think, is a huge thing. We're starting to see decentralized social really picking up, which I think is amazing. I think that with this trend in mind, probably the most interesting question to be answered within the upcoming year or two is, where exactly would blockchain be positioned within the mainstream? Would it be a technology in the back end, somewhat of a decentralized database to support applications at scale in a secure manner? Would it still be the financial front end of everything? And I think that for me, it's one very exciting to be at the point in time in which it's still evolving. And I think that regardless of what's happening, I think it's going to be a core part of the stack of a lot of companies. I think that's going to be a channel that everybody wants to activate, similarly to where mobile was in 2010, in which it was just starting. It was clear that's going to be big. It wasn't exactly clear how fast it would reach the mainstream and how exactly that would look. But for any company that was working on mobile analytics, growth, measurement, promotion, or anything like that, it was clear that they're working on the right thing for the industry to go wide and for them to tap into a new value network being created.
I like that. And I'd like to talk a little bit about, mindset in this space. So, how do you continue to just work through adversity and really stay positive in a time where things may be very difficult to handle? And what's some advice that you may be able to share with new founders and people that are looking to transition into the industry as well?
I think it's a lot about reflecting. My partner always takes me to that, and I mean, I love my partners, and I'm always joking about when you're choosing your partners, that's your second marriage. You spend so much time together, and you're making all these important decisions. And I think that sometimes when I'm kind of wandering up in the air, my partner steps up to me and says, ask yourself, why did we decide to go on this journey? And I think that very emotionally, it takes me to the place in which I remember why I'm such a big believer in this space, how I fell in love in writing academic proofs on the wall about how to design blockchains,
Yes.
about how I'm a big believer that the data and the prevalence of data in this space, it's such a huge advantage for, I think that for Web 2 marketers coming into Web 3, they are starting to get used to a world in which data is no longer in availability. Google are deprecating third-party cookies. Apple with Scan are no longer providing information, full raw information about attribution. Marketers in Web 2 are really becoming blind to what's happening around them. And with Web 3, with all the prevalence of the data, you can see so much. You can see who's making money, where there are opportunities, where are my users drifting away, what's the value of what I'm doing, what's the value of what's happening with my competitors. And when I reflect back on that, of how I fell in love with blockchain, with what was the vision for establishing the company, I'm always going back to being incredibly optimistic about the path and remembering that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's going to take time to take this industry from where it is today and make that a mainstream industry that's no smaller from the mobile industry or from the console industry or anything else like that. I'm a big believer that blockchain has a part in this world, and I'm a thankful for the privilege that I have to be a part of this journey. And taking that step by step and with a big smile on my face. I think that's that's my answer.
Yeah, so apologize for the fire truck in the background if you can hear that. But talking about the past, what's one of the biggest misconceptions that you may have had prior to entering into Web3 that you no longer have and it's really kind of shaping your, I would say, mindset moving forward?
Some of the misconceptions of Web3. Um, I think that coming from an analytical background, seeing the beauty of the data that's widely available in the space, I was saying, wow, it has to be the case that everybody are leveraging this data. I mean, that's the secret weapon of doing marketing in Web3.
Yeah.
It's all open. It's all open. There's no way that people are not leveraging that. And I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong. I think that despite the availability of data, a lot of organizations are still emotional. They're still thinking about what they believe to be true. They're not tapping into this huge potential that is very unique to the Web3 space. And to kind of frame that, all of the data of a blockchain is publicly available, right? It's a lot of data. It's difficult to process, but it's widely available. It's not the case in any other industry. And
Hmm.
if you're able to leverage that through direct work on that, through working with partners, through working with products that do that, Addressable is one example of that. The level of advantage that you're having is crazy. This is what we're looking to change about the space. This is why I'm investing in workshop and ecosystem and community and talking to marketers about it's not a sales pitch. Use the data of the blockchain. That's your secret weapon. Um, there, that's of non-existence in any other industry. And if you use it well, if everybody uses that well, or at least a portion of us uses that well, that will make this industry huge.
Asif, I'm sold. I'm sold. So let's play devil's advocate. You know, I'm a potential client. How easy is it for me to get started? And just kind of give us a brief, I would say, overview of how we can kind of go down the path of using your product.
For sure. So one thing that when we established the company, we had this kind of famous legendary dinner in which we were thinking about what would the space look like when it's growing. And I think that for everybody working in the blockchain space, so many of the people are technical, right? Every founder that you speak to and every person within the company, it's technical. It sometimes feels like even the marketing and sales are technical people now doing marketing and sales. But as the industry grows and matures, that's rarely ever the case in any industry. So one thing that was very important for us, and you asked about something that's unique about the company, is our theme for building the product was we must assume that we're building for the mainstream and for a maturing industry. And when that becomes a maturing industry, a lot of marketers, as in any other industry, would not have a lot of technical skills. They will continue begging for engineers for doing integrations. And it's up to us to make integration as easy as possible for marketers. And you asked about the onboarding into the product and what does that look like? My question is a single sentence. It's as simple as possible. There's a one-click installation web pixel that as soon as you click that, that's code approved by Google, available on the Google community template. It's a one click, you start seeing your wallet connects. You're starting to see your blockchain integrations. You don't need your engineers. It comes in house. We take care of that. You want the mobile data as well? You have a mobile application? Great. Are you working with AppsFlyer and Singular? Awesome. Go into their product, go into the partner marketplace, search for addressable, click on the toggle, bam, mobile data is being tapped inside as well. You want to start advertising with Twitter, it's incredibly easy. There's a one-page documentation. You give the app the permissions, you're all connected. And from that point on, it's merely about translating as a marketer how you're thinking about your target audience. Let's say that you're looking for DeFi power traders, or you're looking for whale gamers, or you're looking for RPG gamers, or you're looking for developers that are deploying smart contract code to the blockchain. You build this audience within Addressable. It's an experience that's very similar to an audience builder that you would find on Facebook ads or on Google ads. You just describe them. How much money do they have? When were they last active on the blockchain? What businesses do they typically work with? What are their interests? And you start seeing the picture. So until that moment, typically marketers don't know where this audience is coming from. I typically ask like let's say an example. I'm asking a marketer, "What's your target audience?" And they're saying, "Oh, I'm looking for people working with DEXs, and here are the top five." Great. Do you have any idea what's the focus of this audience? Is that, for instance, Southeast Asia? Is that the U.S.? Is that Europe? What's your target audience? And they're saying, "Well, I'm really not sure about that." So once they put in this audience description, this on-chain description into our platform, for the first time for a lot of them, they're saying, "Oh wow, that's the world map. It is where they're coming from." And for anybody who's trying to visualize what I say, which is difficult on audio, go and visit addressable.io. You'll find so many videos and documentation and everything. They start seeing that, and once they're saying to themselves, "That's it. That's the audience. That's the people that I was looking for." It's a few clicks and you're live with an ad targeting these users on Twitter, on Reddit, or on display ads. It's your choice. You start seeing users stream into your application. You start getting more users. You start getting them more effectively. And as we optimize the traffic, you're just getting more and more effectively. And you always have your dashboard to be in control about what's working, how well is it working, how better am I today than where I was a week ago. That's the experience in
Wow.
a 2 minute. Yeah.
Wow, what a way to end it here, huh? So, I feel like today was a good day and I've learned so much during our conversation so far. I really appreciate you for taking the time. Let's talk a little bit about, the current state of affairs here, and is there anything that our listeners today should be paying attention to when it comes to addressable? Anything else on the roadmap? I know that you had received funding several months ago, but are you currently in growth mode? Tell us a little bit about anything else that you would like to impart with us before you leave today.
So many things are happening at the moment. So the company is growing, 30 people at the time, post two funding rounds. Um, and we see so many new opportunities. We just acquired some amazing customers. You can see their names on our website, but it's really the biggest customers in the space, and we couldn't be more proud about working with them. And I think that for people looking to learn a bit more about what's the trend with addressable, I would say one, we're growing. If you're interested in learning more about addressable, you can definitely visit our website and look into the career parts of that. And I think even if you just want to be in touch, that's something that is kind of a message that I want to send across. We're super friendly. for me, the benefit of working in the blockchain space and in this friendly space in which we can talk to everyone is I really want to be inviting of people operating in the space to chat to me as well. I'm always curious to learn about people founding new businesses, what are the challenging that they're facing specifically on growth and user acquisition, what is working for them, what is not working for them, how we can be helpful. But I think in general, for me, it gives the bigger picture, and I can always share insights from what I've seen in the industry and from other customers and friends that I've been chatting to. So many big things are happening. We're launching new features on the product, so many new opportunities, all under the same scope. It's about helping marketers in the field better understand their audiences, better connect with them, and use data to grow effectively.
I love that. That's commendable. And I really appreciate all the things that you're doing for the space. And I love that you're open to communication and being able to continue that friendly nature. But I'm sure, right? Like many professionals, you're busy and you probably get inundated with tons of different messages. So if there were people out there, maybe job seekers or individuals that are interested in partnerships or internships or whatever the case may be, what's the best way to contact you, and how do you like to be approached? Some people, kind of like the flat out question. Some people kind of want people to know a little bit more about something respective to their organization before they reach out that can make them stand out. So what are some things that you can share with people that may be interested in getting in touch with you, and what are the best methods of contacting you?
So maybe that's a good opportunity to reveal something new about the company that's going to be launched incredibly soon.
Oh, nice.
So the first thing, and that's not the secret part. So I'm always available on DMs, on LinkedIn, on Telegram, on Twitter. So if you want to reach out to me directly, you're most welcome to do that. I'm typically available, and I always love chatting. For those of you that prefer the face to face, I typically attend the bigger conferences. I think that for the rest of the year and in the upcoming months, I'm planning on attending HCC Korea Blockchain Week, and our team would be at Token 2049 in Singapore. We're trying to host events and invite over people that are excited about Web3 marketing as much as we are excited, and that's always a good opportunity to meet us and chat. We're always promoting the ability to meet us in a face-to-face, which is always so nice in this space. And what I'm announcing in that sense is that we're launching an ecosystem, which is independently from our product, where you can obviously be a customer and start promoting and doing user acquisition. The ecosystem is a lot about coming together and speaking about the challenges of growth and how data can be very much efficient with that. Um, so that is about to go live with podcasts, with industry leaders speaking about growth, and with workshop for accelerators in which we can all share insights, and with even the ability to reach in, become a part of that, subscribe to our communications, which is it's everything but a product and customer communications. It's a community one. It's the ability for all of us to tackle the challenges of growth together and to work together to make this industry great.
Asaf, thank you once again for your insights. This has been a wonderful conversation. I can't believe the time is already up, and I know that it's a little bit later in the evening for you and your time of the world, so we're going to wrap it up a little bit early here today. I'd like to thank every single person who joined and found this to be insightful. We have Sid, Nathan, Antonio, many others here. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. And until the next episode, folks, stay safe, enjoy, and have a great weekend. Thanks. Bye.